Two firsts, one good, one bad. On the first day of the Biden administration, the new president killed the Keystone XL pipeline. That will cost over 1,000 jobs and billions of dollars in Canada. Then another first. Justin Trudeau was the first world leader to talk to Joe Biden on Friday night. That call did not change the decision. The pipeline is still dead. So now the Premier of Alberta and others want the Prime Minister to hit back with sanctions against the United States. Is a trade war in the first days of a new administration the right way to go? Talk about that and lots more. We are joined now by the Alberta Premier Jason Kenney. And Premier, great to have you back on the program. Look, Joe Biden campaigned on killing the pipeline. He made it an executive order on his first night. He's not reversing that decision. What kind of sanctions, in your view, would be appropriate to level against the United States, and what would that accomplish?
Well, what it would accomplish is to stand up for Canada, just like the Trudeau government did when Donald Trump imposed the steel tariffs that he campaigned on. We didn't accept Trump's campaign commitment to rip up NAFTA. Our federal government did the right thing. They fought against that. They got into discussions. They threatened reprisals if it happened, and they managed to get a decent deal. That's what national governments are supposed to do. And Evan, this is a direct attack against the largest industry in Canada. We export nearly $100 billion of energy to the United States every year. If this precedent is allowed to stand, where the U.S. government can retroactively cancel infrastructure that exists, that pipeline is already in the ground at the border crossing, it creates a precedent that could be applied to other long-standing pipelines, because people around the Biden administration are trying to decommission some of the major pipelines, including the one that fuels the Southern Ontario economy. So we need to put our foot down and say that this is not acceptable. It's a violation of the investor protection provisions of NAFTA. We need to stand up for ourselves.
All right. Well, I asked the government about that. First of all, they say that your comparison, the environment minister said that your comparison of steel and aluminum tariffs is faulty. They said those were ridiculous sanctions and tariffs because they came under Section 232, national security. This is totally different. They say he's opposed this. They remind you that, when Barack Obama first vetoed this in 2015 on the third day of Justin Trudeau's time as Prime Minister, they also took no sanctions. They supported this, they say, but this is no surprise and there's not much more they can do. What do you say back to them?
The problem that the Trudeau government on day two of it rolled over and surrendered in the face of a presidential veto. What's changed is this is not just a proposed project like it was 6 years ago. This is a real pipeline that is in the ground. The border crossing is done. Investments have been made on the basis of the U.S. approving it. The U.S. has retroactively removed that approval. They're changing the game halfway through. At the very least, what the government of Canada should do is demand compensation for the Canadian investors, TC Energy, and in this case, the government of Alberta, for having made a good faith investment to help to strengthen U.S. energy security.
Right. Can you be precise what exact kind of sanctions you want?
Ottawa should be, at the very least, demanding compensation for having changed the rules midstream after Canadians invested. Put the shoe on the other foot here. Imagine the United States had invested in infrastructure coming north, Canadian government approves it, then whoops, it revokes the approval after money has been spent. That falls under the investor protection provisions of NAFTA. And we'll have to go to court if necessary to protect the interests of Albertans. We prefer that the administration showed some bit of good faith through compensation. But I've been around the cabinet table in Ottawa. You sit down and you look at targeted measures that can get the attention of those in the United States who are undermining our interests. We've done that before. We did it with steel tariffs. We should do it again.
On the call of premiers on Thursday night with Justin Trudeau, again, sources are saying that you and other premiers referred to Joe Biden as a bully, and he could be worse than Donald Trump and more unpredictable. Is that true? And are you more concerned that Biden could be worse than Canada than Donald Trump?
I didn't use those words, and now that the Trump administration is gone, let me just say, from a Canadian perspective, I'm happy we no longer have to deal with that kind of unpredictability. An administration that came to office to rip up NAFTA. And I hope we can congratulate Mr. Biden on his election and the success it represents for American institutions that were under great stress lately. And I really hope that we can have a constructive relationship. It's very unfortunate that he started that However, with this decision that is clearly against Canada's best interests, and that's not how you treat a friend and an ally. That's why I hope they'll take a step back and understand, and I hope the Trudeau government will convey that clearly.
Jason Kenney, Premier of Alberta, always a pleasure to have you on the show, sir. Thanks.
Thank you, Evan.